What's going on, y'all? So we are actually doing my 5 teams of the month video today. You know, every month I like to release 5 teams for y'all to try out. You can take a look at them, give me any suggestions if you think I should change anything. Maybe I'll, re-update the codes with the changes if there's some good feedback. But it is definitely about time to release these 5 teams sooner than later, So this is the first team we'll be looking at is just this Virizion Coal team that I have been using pretty recently. I do think it's a pretty good team. You could argue that Dragapult doesn't really need this scarf, but it does allow you to be faster than Regieleki, so you can surf Colossal before Regieleki and try to take it out, because surfing also will break the sash if it has sash, right? So pretty good answer to Regieleki. But I think Virizion is nice because it just complements Colossal really well. So, you can click, well, I've talked about it in past videos, but Virizion and Coal have opposite weaknesses. Like, Colossal's bad against water and ground, which Virizion is good against, and Virizion is bad against ice and flying, which Colossal is good against. So you have that dichotomy going. I do think you could take Scald off for Protect. My idea was that if you really need to deal with a Landorus, they might not expect you to have that, because most Landoruses will survive a +2 Gmax Fockliffe if they Dynamax, and then they could think that's like an easy answer. But if they have Tailwind, you have a whole nother problem to deal with, kinda, right? So you probably don't want to bring Coal as your Gmax in front of Tailwind with Landorus. But it's Zacian team, just because Zacian's one of the better legendaries. Substitute is very useful on this team, like we saw in that match versus the Kingdra Mungus lead. I was able to substitute and then just kind of like chip away at the Kingdra. So substitute definitely useful. I did, fix PP maxing and everything, so this is a new code. And DD, I think, is just good for if you do want to really rely on Colossal or Virizion, and then in the back, like, you can bring, like, Dragapult Coal or Dragapult Virizion with Indeedee Zacian, and then, like, just bring out Indeedee third, use Follow Me, and just keep, like, trying to wreck them with Coal and Virizion, right? So you could argue that you could put something more offensive in that slot, but I think it works, especially because it has Helping Hand to help, like, take more crucial KOs that you might need. And of course, the Sash Urshifu is kind of just standard, right? Like, if you're not going to set up Coal with Dragapult, you can do it with Urshifu and Aqua Jet. And Urshifu is just pretty good in general. It is the only water type on this team, so it has that going for it, and close combat, Virizion really does benefit from this moveset. I think you could try to say you could get Protect, but like Bounce is really nice because you can do the Dynamax max airstreams, and then Sacred Sword allows you to get around like defense boosts for like Ferrothorn if you really need it because you didn't bring Coal for some reason, or it went down, you know what I mean? So Sacred Sword can be nice. And it's just a pretty, well-rounded team overall, I guess. Besides that, I don't really think there's much more to say about it, right? Because, like, it's, Dragapult and Zacian can technically switch out for each other because of the fairy. But besides that, like, yeah, it's. I feel like the team's pretty straightforward, right? Like, you either lead Dragapult Virizion, like Dragapult Coal, or Urshifu. Sometimes you can lead Zacian Dragapult. Sometimes you can lead like Indeedee Dragapult, Indeedee Urshifu, Indeedee Zacian. But yeah, I don't feel like it needs that much more explanation for that one. Then we've got the Choice Scarf Kyogre Kartana team. So this, I really like Kyogre. I'll say that. Like, it's not just because it's ridiculously good competitively, but I like played Pokemon Sapphire, right? So I really like Kyogre, and it just so happens that it's really good, right? But I think Scarf Ogre can be really good if people aren't expecting it, because obviously Water Spout does fat damage. So we've got Choice Scarf Kyogre with Origin Pulse, Thunder, Ice Beam, Water Spout. We've got the Life Orb Zapdos, which is really good against the Sun Core. So, you definitely want to have that when you have a Kyogre team. Because, you don't want to just be, like, stuck in the constant switching out Weather War, right? So Zapdos has, max Airstream to raise your speed and to deal with Venusaur. You can also deal with, Charizard with max Lightning, with Life Orb. It will, or at least it should, take it out. And then, Groudon just doesn't really do that well against Zapdos unless it uses, like, Swords Dance max Rockfall. But you would probably want to try to deal with it with Kyogre before that, right? Kartana is really good on a rain team because it, obviously is 4 times weak to fire, and it also has really bad special defense, so you run it with the Assault Vest. And it actually doesn't really have any attack investment. Without attack investment, it already has 400 attack, so you don't really need it. You just invest in special attack and speed, and make it a fast boy that hits decently hard. Indeed, again, redirection is great, especially with a Scarf Kyogre. You can just click Follow Me Water Spout, and it's like devastating to certain teams. You can also do Tailwind Water Spout, or you can do Fake Tears Water Spout if they don't expect to be faster, which is, or expect to be not faster. So you can like one-shot a Porygon 2, one-shot a Dusclops with Fake Tears, instead of using Taunt, I guess, but Taunt is arguable, I guess. Then we've actually got Urshifu Dark on this team. I think Urshifu Dark is just kind of a nice switch up. Like, they could definitely expect this to be an Urshifu Water team, but I think Urshifu Dark just covers for things like Calyrex and random stuff of that nature, right? And I mean, you have Kartana to help with fairies, so you just kind of have to position correctly and try to catch people off guard. But it's a best of 1 team, I would definitely say, like, for the most part. But I can use it in best of 3s, and I have, and like seen good success, but definitely pretty decent in laddering scenarios. So let's see, I mean, you can switch out like Kyogre for Zapdos kind of to like take certain types of damage. You can switch Kyogre for Kartana to take certain types of damage. You do have, Urshifu and Wims both being weak to flying, but not really that big of a deal. You can switch like Indeedee and Urshifu kind of between each other to take certain types of hits like Dark. So I mean, it has pivots, and I mean, if you need to soak up a ground damage, I guess you can pivot into Zapdos, right? But that's the team. Pretty fun stuff. And let's move on to this team. So this is actually, I would say, one of my favorite teams. This is my Eternatus team. So I didn't actually play that many games last month. I played, I think, 11 or 12 or like 13 games with this team, and then like 3 or 4 games with the Kartana team. So I didn't really play that many games last season, but at the height of me using this team, I was 10-1. So I got 10 wins and 1 loss. And the 1 loss was pretty close. So, well, I made a bad turn 1 basically, and then I lost. So it was very winnable. I just didn't really make the right play. This team really catches people off guard. So, I mean, the main idea with what you can do, right, is, I mean, you can start Follow Me with Landorus or Follow Me with Rotom for Swords Dance Nasty Plot, and then Dynamax one of them and put on significant pressure. But what you can also do is you can use Rillaboom Eternatus or Rillaboom Urshifu in a combo, you can use Rillaboom Eternatus or Urshifu Eternatus in a combo. And because of Choice Scarf and Grassy Glide priority, you can very many times pick up a one-hit KO with Eternatus by clicking like Grassy Glide or Surging Strikes plus Dynamax Cannon into, you know, whatever threat they have. So Eternatus being really fast and also really powerful is pretty crazy for this team, and it's really bulky as well. It resists a lot of certain types, so you've really got that going for you, and you also have, you know, a flying Pokemon and a levitate Pokemon to switch out for impending ground damage, I guess. So this team plays really crazy, especially with the Choice Scarf Urshifu having coaching. You can do things like start Rillaboom Urshifu and click coaching Dynamax Landorus, or Dynamax Rillaboom, sorry, either one, right? Because you can do Urshifu Landorus, and it can be really scary if you click coaching and then you get a defense boost and a special defense boost if you use Max Quake, right? Or, you know, you probably want to start getting speed boosts first more than anything else in most situations, but yeah, it can be a pretty crazy combination. So this team did me very well last season, and I definitely suggest people try it, because I'm definitely myself thinking about trying it again at some point this season if I, you know, keep playing matches, because I am quite busy. But yeah, I mean, you can switch out Landorus for Rotom to take like ice damage. You can switch, you know, Eternatus or Rillaboom into Rotom to take ice damage. You can switch like Urshifu into Rotom to take flying damage. So you have significant pivots, and again, like it's really about like putting on so much pressure that they can't avoid like looking at either slot, right? So it's like they want to avoid the Eternatus to target Rotom because it nasty plotted, but like Eternatus is gonna sweep as well if you don't target Rotom, or I mean Eternatus. So you kind of like make them not able to avoid anything and just put on super fat pressure. I've played that team very versatilely, so it is pretty crazy. Last we've got, or I mean, sorry, fourth, not last. This is kind of like the fun team for the month. You can kind of see that there's a theme of using Indeedee and Wims a lot of the time. And I actually think that if you were to put Grimmsnarl instead of Wims on this team, it could be significantly scary. Where you would probably run like Fake Tears, the Scary Face, or Thunder Wave, and then like a Screen and then Spirit Break maybe. Or you could maybe just run like Spirit Break and Sucker Punch even. But I think that could be a kind of nice combination instead of Wims. However, this is just, you know, it's kind of a fun team, like I said. So I really wanted to try Thundurus. The other type of Thundurus was my idea, so I have Assault Vest Thundurus, which can also raise its defense if it Dynamaxes with Max Steel Spike. It also has Thunder. This Thundurus has a lot of special attacks, so it can get by without Life Orb. It also does a lot of damage with Life Orb. But the idea is also that you have Tyranitar if you want to set up for like max Rockfall Weather Balls. And you also have Sludge Bomb if you need to raise your special attack or hit like, you know, fairies or things like that, right? So Thundurus can be really pivotal on this team, but so can the Choice Scarf Kyogre because people don't expect it, right? But another fun thing you can do, which is kind of like the point of this team, right, is you can just click Follow Me Belly Drum on turn 1, and then you can bring in Kyogre and have Swift Swim Poliwrath try to do crazy things, right? It does have Drain Punch to heal itself back up as well, but it's, you know, it's a good bag of fun. Then we have a special Tyranitar actually with Dark Pulse, Flamethrower, Protect, and Ancient Power, with the idea being that if you do need to deal with a Escavalier or a Ferrothorn with this, you can. But I mean, a Belly Drum Drain Punch should be able to do that as well. It's really, I guess, about positioning, right? Then we have the Whimsicott, which is kind of the same Whimsicott. I mean, like, you could, again, go for Taunt instead of Fake Tears, but I think with the Choice Scarf Kyogre, the Fake Tears can be really nice because you don't always need to go for Tailwind right away, and you can just click, like, Fake Tears Water Spout and take out, like, a Dusclops or a P2 or whatever, like I said. So that's the team. Super fun stuff. You do have switch outs, right? Like Thundurus for T-Tar, Thundurus for Poliwrath, I guess, in certain scenarios, like for grass moves. So I guess, yeah, Thundurus can soak up grass moves. T-Tar can help soak up psychic moves with like a switch in for Poliwrath or something, right? And can help soak up dark moves for a switch in for Indeedee. So, I mean, there's things, right? There's things, I guess. All over, though, super crazy team, and it is, you know, meant to be more fun than anything, but I think it can perform very well just with the base core of Indeedee, Kyogre, Thundurus, and Whimsicott, right? And then T-Tar and Poliwrath are like, you kind of have to know how to play them in order to make them function effectively on the team. But they definitely can do that. In the case of, like, you know, for example, Dynamaxing Tyranitar just to get a special defense lowering and then bring in Kyogre and click Water Spout. Because this is a max speed T-Tar, so you can also do things like click Tailwind, max, you know, max darkness, and catch people off guard, I suppose, by being faster than most things. You might not be faster than a Calyrex Shadow, might not really matter that much because it's a Calyrex Shadow, but I think you might be like one speed slower than it, if anything, because I think we're modest instead of like raised speed, right? But we are max speed. So pretty fun stuff. Let's just move on to the last team. All the names on the teams are obviously kind of like, you know, for the most part, didn't really think about it. Last is the HoOh Team that I built at the beginning of last season, or maybe the end of the season before that, I'm not sure. So this is my HoOh Team. I originally had like weakness policy Slowbro, which, I mean, I didn't really give it the light of day, unfortunately, but it did actually kind of almost sweep in the one match I used it in. I think just, you know, having Lapras with the weakness policy can catch people off guard. It also has Freeze Dry, which is really good against like Palkia and things like that, right? So it can be kind of clutch in certain scenarios. You do have to be careful about using Lapras on a Sun team, right, with Torkoal and HoOh. So you just need to kind of position it correctly. But we do have actually a special HoOh with Ancient Power, Recover, Air Slash, and Flamethrower, which is a great Dynamax candidate. It can really catch Charizards off guard, especially if you start like Raichu HoOh and just click Nuzzle, Max, Rockfall. They just really have no answer for it if they're not expecting it. And a lot of the times they will view Charizard as their better Dynamax in this case, compared to like Venusaur if you're facing a Sun team. You also have Sableye with Quash, Taunt, Will-O-Wisp, and Knockoff, which can be really good for things like Zacian, which might want to substitute or set up, just do fat damage, obviously. So like you can Will-O-Wisp it, you can taunt it, make it not able to protect anymore, and then you can kind of take it out, or just, again, like neuter it with Will-O-Wisp. But it's really situational, and you kind of need to like expect what they're going to do, right? Because one time I forgot that I could taunt instead of Will-O-Wisping, and they just they set up a, what did they do? They protected the first time, and then they substituted, I don't remember, but anyways, I should have taunted them, and then they were able to like get their Zacian in a good position because I didn't taunt them. So you definitely want to remember that that can be super clutch. Then of course we have the Venusaur, which takes advantage of Sun, has Sludge Bomb, Giga Drain, and Sleep Powder. I do see why people run Weather Ball over over Protect, I guess, right? Because you really like Dynamaxing Venusaur, and if you're gonna Dynamax it, you have Max Guard with Sleep Powder. But that being said, I think in some scenarios, if you do want a Sleep Powder, pressing Protect on turn 1 is going to be kind of crucial. So, you know, like, if you're going for more of a Sleep Powder Venusaur, this is kind of, you know, it's a fine way to run it. You know, we have other people that have fire moves, right? But, you know, if, again, you know, like I said, if you guys have any suggestions, feel free, and that's one thing you could tell me, right? So sorry, it's also Focus Sash Raichu. Of course, Lightning Rod is really good for HoOh and Lapras, but we can also use Volt Switch to self-proc Lapras' weakness policy, and then because Raichu moves before Lapras, we can actually click Max Lightning on that same turn if we really do need to. So you have stuff like that. You can also Nuzzle to change speed priorities. You can Charm to deal with things like Zacian if you don't bring Sableye for some reason, or you can also Charm to deal with like Landorus's. So, you know, random things like that. But all in all, a super fun team, and it has, you know, significant switch outs for each other, right? Like Venusaur being able to switch out for HoOh, or Lapras switching out for HoOh, HoOh switching out for switching in for Raichu, HoOh switching in for Torkoal, like, you know, for those ground moves. But yeah, sorry, I sometimes I feel like I'm not explaining how the teams work very well, but like, I guess it's because when I look at the team, I feel like it kind of like just makes sense, right? Like, you know, you can start Torkoal Venusaur, you can start Raichu Lapras, you can start Torkoal HoOh, you can start Raichu HoOh. You can also do things like start Sableye, Lapras, and click like Quash or something. Or you can, you know, start Sableye with anything else, right? So all over, I think this is a really solid team. It's not perfect, like, it's definitely not as good as like this team, for example, but, you know, possibly better than this team, I don't know. But I do really like this team as well, and I think if anything, you know, give the Eterna boys a try. That team did me wonders last season. But with that being said, you know, thank you. If you know, are not subscribed, of course I am always welcome to expanding the community, right? So, you know, feel free to give a like and subscribe. I do have a Discord. I now have a, you know, Twitter, Ultra Heady Twitter, right? But if you want to join my Discord, or look at, I don't have anything posted on Twitter, but, you know, I guess we'll get there, right? Yeah, thanks for tuning in, and whatever team you like, definitely let me know as well. So peace out, y'all, and have a good day.